Hi, in this session, our topic of discussion is SQL functions. SQL functions can be broadly classified into two types, single row functions and group functions, also known as aggregate functions. Now, let us start with single row functions. They are again classified into four. They are character functions, number functions, date functions, and miscellaneous functions. Before discussing various types of functions, now let us try to understand what dual table means. The dual is special one row, one column table present by default in all Oracle databases. The owner of dual is sys, but dual can be accessed by every user. The table has a single varchar column called dummy that has a value of x. MySQL allows dual to be specified as a table in queries that do not need data from any tables. In SQL Server, dual table does not exist, but you could create one. Basically, this table is used in places where we do not require any data from a table. Now let us start with various character functions. The first one is initCap. This function is used to initial capital letters of a given string. That means if a particular string is given, the starting letter is converted into a capital letter by using the query in this manner. The output also is shown here, which clearly shows that the initial letter of the string is finally converted into a capital letter. The next function is upper. As the name suggests, this upper function converts all the characters of a particular string into its capital letters. This is shown by the following query, where the string that is given in the inverted commas is finally converted into capital letters. The next function is lower, which is opposite of upper function. The uppercase function converts the lowercase into uppercase, whereas the lower function converts the uppercase characters into lowercase as shown in this example. The next function is lpad function. This lpad function takes three parameters. They are the string which is to be padded, the length the string can take, and the character that should be padded on the left hand side as it is lpad. In this example, we take the example of a string 2CSC and the next parameter is 10 and the character to be padded on the left hand side is asterisk symbol. Since it is lpad, the special character asterisk will be padded to the left hand side so that the entire length of the string does not cross 10 characters as a whole. The next function is rpad function, which is opposite of lpad. It pads the special characters mentioned in the parameters to the right hand side rather than the left hand side as shown in the example. Here the asterisk symbol which is given as a special character is padded to the right hand side of the string rather than the left hand side, which is in the case of lpad. The next function is ltrim, which is relatively a very simple function which trims the empty spaces to the left side of the string. The next character function is rtrim, whereas ltrim removes all the spaces to the left side of the string. Rtrim removes all empty spaces to the right side of the string as shown in the example. Though it is not clear in the output, that's what this rtrim does. It trims away all the empty spaces to the right side of the string. The next function is substr or substring function. This basically returns a part of the string. So you can have to mention the string itself from which you want the substring. You also have to mention where you want to start and how many characters you want. Those are the parameters here which needs to be mentioned. In the below example, first the string needs to be mentioned and the starting point from where we want to retrieve the string and the ending point where the string has to end. So from this example, since the third character is C and the fifth character is E, these three characters will be retrieved from the string and form as a separate substring, which is shown in the output below. The next function is replace function. This function is used to replace the existing characters of an old string with new characters. So in this query, the old string is replaced with new string it. So the old string consists of 3 characters CSC, which needs to be replaced with new characters IT. That's what happens in this string. So when you see the output, the CSC characters of the old string are replaced with new characters IT as shown here. And the next function is translate function. In the translate function, we can replace a single character by a new character. This example clearly shows that an old string which consists of a character C is replaced by a new character E in its place. So in the old string IICSC, the old character C is replaced with new character E, that is shown in the output. The next category of functions are number functions. These are relatively very simple functions which we use often in calculations and in other places in mathematics. In that, the first function which we come across is ABS function, which is also an absolute function. The absolute function returns the positive value of a particular number, whether it is a negative number or a positive number. So in this example, 2602 is a negative number. When we apply this number to an absolute function in the form of a query, it returns the positive value as shown here. In the same way, even if it is a positive number, the result that will be returned. The second function is ceil function. This function is used to round to the next value. Let us take an example here. So we have used an example of a number 123.45. When this number is applied to ceil function, it rounds to the next value, which is 124 as shown here. The output is 124. When 123.45 is applied to ceil function, the output which we get is 124, since it has been rounded to the next value. The third function is the floor function. This function is used to round to the nearest lower value, which is made clear with the help of this example. The same example again we are using here. The number 123.45 is given and it is used as a part of a query, and the result we get here is 123 once again, since the value that will be returned is the nearest lower value. Function is a round function. This round function is also a mathematical function and returns an integer value or a decimal value with the following output. Here 123.95 is converted into 124, since the value has been rounded off using mathematical concepts. The next function is truncate function. This truncate is a rather simple function which truncates the decimal part of any number. So in this example, 123.90, when it is applied to the trunc function, the decimal part is truncated and only we get the integer part as shown in the following example. The next function is once again a very simple function, SQRT function, or the square root function. The square root function returns the square root of any number which is given as a parameter in the function and applied to a particular query. Here when we apply in this example 25 to square root function as a part of a query, the result we get is 5, since the square root of 25 is 5. So the seventh function is power function. The power function is nothing but a function which returns the power of a particular number. As we see in this example, 2, 5. 2 is the base number, 5 is the superscript. So we have to find out 2 to the power 5 in this example. If we give the values as a part of a query in this manner using the power function, the result we get is 32, since 2 to the power 5 is 32, as we all know. Next function is mod function. The mod function, when we apply to the numbers 3 2, the output we get is 1. This mod function is used to retrieve remainder or modulus value of a given number. Next functions are sine, cos and tan. These are various trigonometric functions which are useful when we want to do some trigonometrical calculations. In sine function, when we give 90 as a parameter to sine function, the output we get is 0. In cos function, when we give the same number 90 to cos as a part of this query, the output we get is 0.44807362. And finally, the tan function is also a trigonometrical function where when a particular number given to the tan function as a part of the query, the output we get is. Thank you for a patient listening. Thus we covered some of the important functions which we come across in SQL. In the next video, we'll be covering some other important functions. Thank you.